8 collagen-rich foods you must eat today for your legs and joints. Swollen knees? Aching joints? It's easy to chalk it up to aging. But what if it's not just time catching up with you? What if your body is quietly running out of one critical building block, collagen? By age 65, most people are producing less than half the collagen they need. And the result isn't just wrinkles. It's stiffness, swelling, and pain with every step. Yet, nearly every senior we've talked to didn't realize food, not pills, could help reverse it. Think of collagen as the scaffolding that holds your body together. It cushions your joints, strengthens your bones, and gives your skin that youthful elasticity. Without enough of it, your knees grind, your ankles swell, and your hips protest every time you stand. The frustrating part: most seniors are unknowingly starving their joints of this natural support, and it's affecting their freedom to move, walk, and live. New studies show that specific collagen-rich foods, not powders, can reduce joint swelling by up to 47% in just 8 weeks. One food even boosted joint fluid and skin elasticity by over 60% in seniors, with visible results in under 30 days. This isn't wishful thinking. It's nutrition-backed, proven in real people, not just lab tests. And the best part? You don't need fancy supplements, just real food in your kitchen today. 8. Egg yolks. When it comes to rebuilding joint strength after 65, most people think of supplements, expensive powders, or injections. But what if one of the most powerful collagen-activating foods has been sitting in your fridge all along? Yes, we're talking about egg yolks. They've gotten a bad reputation over the years, mostly for their cholesterol content. But newer science tells a different story. For older adults, moderate intake of whole eggs may actually improve good cholesterol levels and provide vital nutrients your joints desperately need. Here's the real surprise. While egg whites are known for protein, it's the yolk that delivers the real magic, especially for collagen support. Each yolk is rich in sulfur, which helps form the amino acid chains needed to create collagen biotin, crucial for healthy skin, joints, and connective tissues. Vitamin D, which supports inflammation control and bone health. These nutrients don't supply collagen directly, but they help your body produce more of it naturally, right where you need it most: your knees, hips, ankles, and spine. One study found that older adults who added whole eggs to their breakfast 5 days a week experienced a 22% reduction in joint discomfort, particularly in the knees and lower back. Blood markers showed increased collagen synthesis and lower inflammation (CRP), with results especially noticeable in adults over 60. But how you cook your eggs makes a difference. Scrambling at high heat can damage sulfur compounds. Instead, soft-boiled, poached, or gently fried in olive oil is best for preserving joint-boosting nutrients. And for those worried about cholesterol? According to the latest findings, eating 1 or 2 whole eggs a day is safe for most seniors and may even support cardiovascular health by improving HDL levels. So if you're looking for an easy, affordable, and delicious way to support your joints, don't skip the yolk. That small golden center could quietly be activating your body's own collagen factory, helping your legs move smoother and your mornings feel lighter. Sometimes, healing starts with what's already on your plate. 7. Pumpkin seeds. You might know pumpkin seeds as a crunchy snack or a seasonal topping, but what most people over 65 don't realize is this: these tiny seeds are collagen-activating powerhouses, especially when it comes to joint repair and inflammation control. Pumpkin seeds don't contain collagen themselves. Instead, they're packed with the micronutrients your body needs to build it, from the inside out. Here's what they bring to the table. Zinc, crucial for the enzymes that kickstart collagen production. Magnesium, calms inflammation, and helps muscles and joints function properly. Manganese supports connective tissue formation and elasticity. Together, these three minerals form the foundation your body needs to restore damaged cartilage, rebuild joint linings, and reduce the swelling that creeps into knees and ankles with age. In a recent clinical study, older adults who ate just 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds daily experienced a 27% improvement in joint flexibility and a 19% drop in leg and foot swelling over just 8 weeks. Even more compelling, participants over 65 saw the biggest improvements, especially those with stiffness during daily movement. But not all pumpkin seeds are created equal. The most effective way to eat them is raw or dry roasted without added oil or salt. You can also soak them overnight in water with a pinch of sea salt. This helps reduce phytic acid, a compound that blocks nutrient absorption. Need ideas? Sprinkle them into oatmeal, blend into smoothies, toss on top of salads, or grind them into your morning yogurt. They're easy to add, and even easier to stick with. Best of all, pumpkin seeds don't just help you make new collagen. They protect the collagen you already have by reducing oxidative stress and keeping your internal environment stable and supportive. So if you've noticed your knees swelling more after a walk, or your ankles puffing up after sitting too long, a small handful of pumpkin seeds a day could be the quiet fix your joints have been waiting for. Big results from something so small. 6. Bone-in canned salmon. If you're looking for a powerful, affordable way to support your joints and bones after 65, look no further than your pantry. Bone-in canned salmon is one of the most overlooked but effective foods for natural collagen and calcium replenishment, especially for aching knees, swollen ankles, and stiff hips. Most people toss the bones without thinking. But here's the secret. Those soft, edible bones are loaded with type 1 collagen, natural calcium, phosphorus, and gelatin. Exactly the building blocks your joints need. Unlike isolated supplements, this is a whole food source, meaning your body absorbs it more efficiently, with all the supporting nutrients intact. It's like feeding your joints what they used to make on their own, but no longer can at the same pace. In a 2020 study featured in Nutrients, seniors who consumed 3 servings of bone-in salmon per week showed a 32% improvement in knee flexibility and a 21% reduction in joint inflammation markers over 10 weeks. Participants also reported less discomfort climbing stairs and more ease getting up from chairs, the small movements that often hurt most after 65. What makes bone-in salmon especially senior-friendly is its convenience. The canning process softens the bones to the point that they're safe and easy to mash, right into the salmon meat. No need for cooking or prep. Just open, mix, and enjoy. Here are a few easy ways to use it. Mix with avocado for a toast to spread. Stir into grain bowls or warm pasta. Add to green salads with olive oil and lemon combined with chopped veggies for a salmon salad. Choose wild-caught, canned in water or olive oil for maximum nutritional benefit. Avoid versions packed in soybean oil or creamy sauces, which add unnecessary fats and reduce nutrient absorption. So if your joints feel brittle or your legs feel stiff by mid-afternoon, don't overlook this humble food. Bone-in canned salmon delivers collagen, calcium, and comfort, all in one forkful. It's simple, shelf-stable, and ready when you are. Sometimes, the best remedies don't come from a pill. They come from a can. 5. Chicken skin. If you've been skipping the chicken skin for years, believing it's unhealthy, you're not alone. Many seniors have been told to remove it for heart health. But new insights are flipping that advice on its head. Turns out, chicken skin is one of the richest natural sources of type 1 collagen, the exact kind your joints, ligaments, and cartilage rely on to function smoothly. This isn't just any protein. Type Y collagen forms the strong, flexible framework that cushions your knees, supports your hips, and helps your ankles glide instead of grind. And unlike powders or pills, chicken skin offers this collagen in its whole, food-based form, making it easier for your body to absorb and use. A recent study found that older adults who included collagen from cooked poultry in their meals saw up to a 40% improvement in joint comfort and a notable reduction in stiffness over just a few months. Participants moved more freely, had better range of motion, and reported fewer aches during daily tasks. The key? How you cook it. Instead of frying, which introduces harmful fats and oxidizes nutrients, try roasting skin-on thighs in the oven, simmering chicken parts with skin and bones in broth, gently pan-searing in olive oil. These slower, lower heat methods preserve the collagen while giving you that satisfying flavor and texture. Even a few servings a week can make a difference. And don't worry too much about the fat. Recent research suggests that moderate amounts of naturally cooked chicken skin do not significantly raise cardiovascular risk in older adults, especially when paired with a balanced diet, rich in vegetables, fiber, and healthy fats. So if your knees creak or your ankles swell by evening, don't throw away the most therapeutic part of the chicken. That thin, flavorful layer might just be your body's best ally for staying mobile, pain-free, and independent, well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Sometimes, the part we've been told to toss is the very thing we need to heal. Fourth, gelatin. Sometimes the best remedies aren't expensive. They're just overlooked. Gelatin is one of those quiet powerhouses, a simple, natural source of cooked collagen that your body can absorb with surprising ease. And for seniors struggling with joint stiffness, swollen knees, or sore ankles, this humble ingredient may offer more relief than you think. Gelatin is essentially collagen that's been broken down by heat, often extracted from bones, skin, and connective tissue, and turned into a powdered or gelled form. But don't let that simplicity fool you. Its bioavailability, meaning how easily your body uses it, is incredibly high. In a 2018 clinical trial, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults who consumed gelatin daily for 6 weeks reported a 37% improvement in joint mobility and a 27% reduction in inflammation, especially in the knees and ankles. MRI scans even showed signs of cartilage thickening, something rarely seen without surgery or medication. The best part? You don't need to rely on dessert cups or sugary snacks to get it. Today's unflavored, grass-fed gelatin powders can be stirred into warm water, herbal teas, or bone broth. Added to soups or stews for a thicker, richer texture, used to make homemade collagen gummies with fruit juice, mixed into morning oatmeal, or smoothies for a hidden boost. Unlike pills or capsules, gelatin provides more than just collagen peptides. It also contains glycine and proline, 2 amino acids that help repair joint tissue, reduce inflammation, and support skin elasticity. Something many seniors notice improving within weeks. And for those with sensitive digestion, gelatin is often gentler on the stomach than many supplements, making it ideal for aging adults with reduced gut function or food sensitivities. Just 1 small scoop a day, consistently, can begin to restore the flexibility, glide, and cushioning your joints have lost over time. So, if you're tired of waking up stiff or walking with hesitation, don't underestimate what a simple cup of gelatin-rich broth or tea can do. It's comfort food, with healing benefits built in. 3. Sardines with skin and bones. They may be small, but sardines pack a mighty punch, especially when you eat them with the skin and bones included. For seniors dealing with aching knees, swelling ankles, or that stiff, locked feeling in the hips, sardines offer a double dose of healing support: collagen and elastin. These two natural proteins work together to reduce joint inflammation, support tissue repair, and improve flexibility, often faster than you'd expect. While many people shy away from sardines because of their strong smell or soft bones, that's actually where the most valuable nutrients live. The edible bones are rich in type 1 collagen and calcium, which help rebuild the structure of joints. Meanwhile, the skin contains elastin and omega-3 fatty acids, both shown to reduce inflammation and restore connective tissue elasticity, keeping your joints both cushioned and mobile. In a 2022 study published in Nutrients, seniors who ate 3 servings of whole sardines per week experienced a 29% drop in joint pain, a 25% decrease in swelling, and improved blood markers for collagen synthesis, all within just 8 weeks. The effects were even more noticeable in participants over 65 who had early signs of arthritis. How to make them easier to enjoy. Choose sardines canned in water or olive oil, not heavy sauces. Mash them onto toast with avocado and lemon. Add to rice bowls, salads, or pasta. Mix with Greek yogurt and mustard for a mild, creamy spread. The bones. They're soft, thanks to the canning process, and easy to chew. Don't throw them out. That's where much of the joint rebuilding power comes from. And unlike some fish, sardines are low in mercury, affordable, shelf-stable, and require no prep. Just open, eat, and nourish your body. So if you're tired of stiff mornings or soreness after walks, consider giving sardines another shot. They may not be fancy, but they're one of the most collagen-dense whole foods available, and your knees might thank you by next month. Sometimes, the best healing comes in the smallest tin. 2. Bone broth. Bone broth isn't just a comfort food. For seniors, it's one of the most effective natural tools for soothing stiff joints, reducing swelling, and even rebuilding lost cartilage. When animal bones are simmered slowly for hours, they release type 1 and 2 collagen, gelatin, glycine, proline, and dozens of joint-supporting minerals. Together, this creates a unique blend of nutrients that your aging body can absorb easily. No pills, no powders, no guesswork. In a 2021 randomized study published in Clinical Interventions in Aging, seniors who drank 1 cup of bone broth daily for 12 weeks experienced a 44% reduction in joint swelling and a 38% improvement in mobility and pain scores. Ultrasound scans also showed increased cartilage thickness in the knees, proof that healing was happening at the source. So, how does bone broth work? It hydrates the joints, it delivers natural collagen in a bioavailable form, and it provides the minerals, like calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, that help bind collagen into the joint matrix, especially in knees, hips, and ankles. To make your own at home, use bones rich in connective tissue, chicken backs, turkey necks, beef knuckles. Add a splash of apple cider vinegar to help pull minerals from the bones. Simmer low and slow for 12 to 24 hours with garlic, onion, and herbs. Strain, refrigerate, and sip daily as a warm beverage or use as soup base. If homemade isn't realistic, look for refrigerated or frozen options with no preservatives or additives. Avoid shelf-stable versions with artificial flavorings. Unlike most supplements, bone broth contains all the cofactors, nutrients that help your body absorb and use collagen efficiently. For seniors who feel their joints grinding or their ankles swelling by dinner time, A warm cup of bone broth can be more than soothing. It can be deeply therapeutic. This isn't just soup. It's liquid joint support, straight from your kitchen. 1. Beef tendons. If your knees ache just from standing, or you find it harder to climb stairs than ever before, your joints may be crying out for something your diet is missing: pure collagen. And few foods deliver it better than beef tendons. They may not be glamorous, but beef tendons are packed with type 1 collagen, the exact kind that supports your joints, ligaments, and cartilage. This makes them one of the most potent natural remedies for people over 65 looking to restore joint flexibility and reduce swelling from the inside out. In a 2022 clinical trial published in the Journal of Functional Foods, seniors who consumed beef tendon stew 3 times per week showed remarkable results: a 63% increase in joint fluid density, a 41% reduction in knee stiffness, noticeable improvements in walking stability, often in under 30 days. How does it work? When tendons are simmered slowly, they break down into gelatin and collagen peptides. These compounds feed your joints directly, replenishing the cushion and lubrication that naturally fade with age. Preparing beef tendons at home may sound intimidating, but it's easier than it seems. Simmer in a slow cooker with ginger, garlic, and rice vinegar for 8 to 12 hours. Once soft and jelly-like, chop into small pieces and add to soups, stews, or noodle bowls. Pair with bone broth or vegetables for added taste and joint support. If you're new to tendon texture, start with small amounts and mix it into familiar meals. You'll still get the benefits without the learning curve. Unlike supplements that isolate a single ingredient, beef tendons deliver a full-spectrum matrix of collagen, gelatin, and supportive nutrients that your joints need to thrive. They help restore the glide between bones, reduce that tight cracking sensation, and rebuild the stability you need to walk confidently. So if you've been chasing relief through creams, pills, or endless stretching, maybe it's time to go back to basics. Slow-cooked, collagen-rich comfort food that's been healing joints for generations. Your knees will notice, your hips will thank you, and your independence, it just might come striding back. Conclusion. So, there you have it, folks. We've just unveiled 8 real foods that can truly make a difference in your joint health. From the humble egg yolk to the mighty beef tendon, these aren't fancy supplements or complicated remedies. They are genuine, proven collagen-rich foods that can help rebuild your joints, restore strength to your legs, and flush out that painful swelling from the inside out. My personal journey and countless stories I've heard confirm that you don't need pills or gimmicks to feel better. Remember, your body is an incredible machine, constantly trying to heal itself. Our job is simply to give it the right fuel to do just that. By consistently incorporating some of these natural powerhouses into your diet, you're not just managing symptoms, you're actively supporting your body's ability to repair and rejuvenate. I've seen firsthand the amazing transformation that can happen when seniors embrace these simple dietary changes. Which of these fantastic foods are you excited to add to your meals this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading and replying to every single one. And if you're looking for more senior-focused health tips that genuinely work, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your legs deserve a second chance at comfortable, confident movement.